Hey everyone. Today I'm going to be counting down my top 10 Dracula movies. Not just vampire movies overall, specifically Dracula. A couple of these might be newer, so spoiler alert. Starting off, my number 10 is House of Dracula. This one had a great premise, it just didn't live up to its potential. So Dracula and the Wolfman both visit the same doctor seeking cures for their ailments. Only Dracula's real plan is to turn the Doctor into another vampire, so we get a little bit of Jekyll and Hyde there, in everything but name. Frankenstein's monster is also there.
I am Count Dracula. You see before you a man who has lived for centuries, kept alive by the blood of innocent people.
When the full moon rises, I turn into a werewolf, with only one desire, to kill.
I tried to perform the miracle of science. Failed. My blood is contaminated with the blood of Dracula.
It's only 67 minutes long, so it doesn't outstay its welcome, but they honestly could have made it 5 to 10 minutes longer and used that time to flesh things out a bit more. The acting is solid, especially from Lon Chaney Jr. The set design is on point, the music is pretty good, but overall it's just kind of disappointing. The score is 3 out of 5. Number 9 is Son of Dracula. This one is basically Southern Gothic vampire horror as a mystical noir. And it's pretty memorable because of that. It's full of great acting and atmosphere, although Lon Chaney Jr. is arguably the weakest link as Count Alucard.
You missed!
Like, he's not bad or anything, I just feel like he was miscast. Practical effects are great, and I actually love the bleak ending. It's very memorable.
Son of Dracula, searing the screen with new terror in this weird tale of the living dead who rise from the grave at night to prey on unsuspecting victims. With Louise Albritton, Robert Page, Evelyn Ankers, Frank Craven, J. Edward Bromberg, and Lon Chaney as the new Count Dracula, you'll shudder at the screen's most fascinating woman vampire, luring men with cold beauty and the promise of immortality.
Count Alucard is immortal. Through him, I attained immortality. Through me, you will do the same.
My score is 3 out of 5. Number 8 is Bram Stoker's Dracula. Francis Ford Coppola is responsible for at least 3 of the greatest movies of all time. This is not one of them. I'll give Keanu Reeves credit for at least attempting an English accent, but sweet, salty Christ, does it sound bad.
Eat, feast. We need your strength for the dark days ahead. Mina?
Doctor,
Yeah?
how did Lucy die?
Huh?
Was she in great pain?
Yeah, she was in great pain. Then we cut off her head and drove a stake to her heart and burned it, and then she found peace.
Doctor! Please.
Also, why the hell does Harker's hair suddenly turn gray? Anyway, the rest of the acting is fine, and Gary Oldman is fantastic. Anthony Hopkins' accent is a little off, though. The set design is outstanding. Technical aspects are all on point. It does feel too long. They could have used a bit more subtlety, but it definitely works as a cohesive whole. Also, this bit of dialogue is absolutely perfect.
Jack.
I know how deeply you loved her. That is why you must trust me and believe.
Believe? How can I believe?
I want you to bring me before nightfall a set of post-mortem knives.
An autopsy? Lucy?
No, not exactly. I just want to cut off her head and take out her heart.
Absolutely priceless. My score is 3.5 out of 5. Number 7 is Count Dracula from 1970. It's interesting seeing Christopher Lee in a non-Hammer Dracula movie. Apparently he enjoyed playing this version of Dracula because it was more faithful to the novel. I haven't read it, so I wouldn't know, but that is pretty cool. And apparently Lee considered his performance in this movie to be his best as the Count. I don't know if I agree. I haven't seen all of his Dracula movies, but he is pretty fantastic.
Mustache.
You.
All my life I've studied the black arts. It's strange to finally confront the Prince of Darkness himself.
You have learnt much. You can do nothing.
Herbert Lom was not the best choice for Van Helsing. He wasn't bad per se, he just wasn't great. Technical aspects were all good for the time. Jess Franco's direction helps this one stand out. I don't think this is a better movie than the 1931 original, but I do think it has a better climax. My score is 3.5 out of 5. This one might get me some flack. Number 6 is the original Dracula. This movie's biggest problem is that it was made by a studio that was still coming out of the silent era. And I wish there was more dialogue between characters. Also, the pacing is pretty slow and the ending is very anticlimactic. Out of each little series within the Universal horror franchise, this is the only one where I don't consider the first movie to be great. Todd Browning's directing was fine, but you can kind of tell his heart wasn't in it, and he was also relatively new to this. He definitely improved by the time he made Freaks the following year. Remember that movie? That was weird. Bela Lugosi is fantastic, and the rest of the acting is good, if not great.
I am Dracula.
Oh, it's really good to see you. I don't know what happened to the driver and my luggage and with all this, I thought I was in the wrong place.
I bid you welcome. Listen to them. Children of the night. What music they make.
The writing is on point, and the set design and the music are fantastic. My score is 3.5 out of 5. Number 5 is... What do you want? No. 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 Okay, fine, but not this time. Next time. Yeah, fuck you too. Anyway. Number 5 is also Dracula, except this one is the Spanish version. This movie is half an hour longer than the English version, and although Carlos Valerias is great as Dracula, he is no Bela. Aside from those two things, this is the superior version of the film. What happened is that after the English crew would wrap filming every day, the Spanish crew would come in and use the same sets to film their version at night, like down to using the same marks on the ground for blocking. And they would use the dailies from the English crew as references to copy what they liked and improve where they could. The result is a film that's better shot, edited, and just better made overall than the English version. It has some of the same problems as the English version, like the anticlimactic ending, but it's a step up overall. The acting overall is just as good, and Lupita Tower as Eva, the equivalent of Mina, is the standout here. One more reason I prefer this version is that it actually fills in a plot hole from the English version. Both versions go through much of the book's plot, including Lucy's death and her return as the vampiric Bloofer Lady. However, after the Bloofer Lady is mentioned, the English version just completely forgets about her. But the Spanish version actually resolves that plot point. Also, from what I'm told, this version is just more faithful to the book overall. The score is 3.5 out of 5. Number 4 is the newest movie on this list, The Last Voyage of the Demeter. This movie takes what has always been a footnote in Dracula lore and explores it in depth, and the results aren't perfect, but they're genuinely great, I think. Period setting is very well done. Corey Hawkins, Aisling Franciosi, really hope I pronounced that right, and Liam Cunningham are all great, and the rest of the cast is at least good. Characters are all fleshed out pretty well, and the movie does a great job of building tension while giving us just enough Dracula to keep us invested until the climax.
What's wrong? I heard your knock.
My knock?
Please, no!
I love that this movie is basically just Alien, but with Dracula on a boat. It's so simple, but it works so well. The characters are gonna make stupid decisions, but here, that's the irony of it, is that we know how to defeat vampires, in theory. I mean, it varies, but, like, we know the various ways to kill vampires. They don't. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're up against. They're trying to figure it out. They're learning as they go. So, of course, they're gonna make mistakes. It's completely justified. I love it. There were several shocking moments, like, there is at least one character who died that I expected to survive, and there is one character who survived that I thought might die, and also just everything that was Dracula. Javier Botet is fantastic. My score is 4 out of 5. Number 3 is Renfield. I genuinely don't know how it's taken this long for Nick Cage to play Dracula. It just seems like such a no-brainer.
Would you like to introduce yourself to the group?
I'm the Prince of Valacia. Some call me the Dark One. Others, the Lord of Death. However, to most, I am known simply as...
Bradfield's boss!
I am Dracula.
Okay, obviously we're dealing with a little bit more than just narcissism here.
Renfield is a delightful comedic action horror flick made by people who clearly did their research on toxic relationships. Cage and Nicholas Hoult are both great, and Awkwafina gives one of her best performances yet. Script is tight, the music is good, the action is great, gory fun. I love that it doesn't end with our heroes, you know, actually becoming a couple, because they still don't know each other that well, so of course that's not going to happen just yet. My score is 4 out of 5. Number 2 is Dracula's Daughter. This movie takes a bit to get going, but once it does, I honestly think it's a step up from Dracula. Technical aspects are all better, and the climax actually feels, well, climactic. What I love about this movie is that Maria does genuinely want to get better. Now, granted, her way of going about that isn't necessarily the best, but she's trying. But Sandor, her Renfield, keeps manipulating her because he wants to be a vampire too. She promised him immortality, and he wants immortality no matter what. He is the true villain of this movie. Gloria Holden is fantastic in the lead role, and the fact that this is a character study means we get to spend plenty of time with her. The rest of the acting is good, if not great. This movie also adds a small but interesting wrinkle to Dracula lore. Like in the first movie, we get the classic line, "I never drink wine."
Sherry, Maria? Thank you, I never drink wine.
At face value, it's just a clue that she's a vampire and vampires only blood. But later in the movie, we see her drink. This suggests that vampires are capable of beverages. Both Dracula's daughter have an aversion to... Well, they're...
Fucking Windows 7! Oh, for the love of God, you own a Linux!
At face value, it's just a clue that she's a vampire and vampires only drink blood. But later in the movie, we see her drinking tea. This suggests that vampires are perfectly capable of drinking certain beverages, so why do both Dracula and his daughter have an aversion to wine? Well, there are 3 possibilities. First, it's just because they both don't like wine. Simple as that. Second, it's because vampirism is satanic and wine is the blood of Christ or whatever. Third, my personal headcanon, it's because alcohol is a blood thinner. Also, this was the first cinematic instance of a lesbian vampire. Yes, this was still many years after the Carmilla novel came out, and for those of you familiar with it, I highly recommend you check out the web series, which I will link in the description. However, this was the first time they were actually portrayed in cinema, on screen. Now, obviously it was 1936, so they couldn't actually, you know, have 2 women kissing. That would have been way too ahead of its time. But, you know, it's still very, very heavily implied. And I love it for it.
I'm ready now. I suppose you'll want these pulled down, won't you?
Yes.
Oh my.
Damn it, Takei!
Finish your wine, it'll warm you. Stand by the fire for a moment. You mustn't catch cold. Why are you looking at me that way? Won't I do?
Yes, you'll do very well indeed.
Do you like jewels, Lily?
This is very old and very beautiful. I must show it to you.
I don't think I'll pose tonight. I think I'll go if you don't mind. Please don't come any closer.
My score is 4 out of 5. Finally, my number 1 is The Horror of Dracula. This movie is a classic. It's faithful to the story of Dracula while adding enough new wrinkles to stand on its own, like Jonathan Harker secretly being a vampire hunter, or at least an amateur vampire hunter, and then getting turned by Dracula. None of that happens in the book, but that all happens here and like very early on in the movie. Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee are phenomenal.
Come, let me kiss you.
Put this on.
I want to go home.
And so you shall. I'll just go and fetch Mr. Helmut, and then we can all go home together.
Not Aunt Lucy.
No, not Aunt Lucy. Now, you sit there. Here, good girl. There. You look like a teddy bear now. Will you wear this pretty thing? There. Isn't that lovely? Now, you promise not to run away?
I promise.
Now, look. If you watch over there, you'll see the sun come up. Keep warm.
Michael Goff, Melissa Stribling, and John Van Eysen are all very, very good, if not great. The set design is excellent, the cinematography and editing are solid, the musical score is awesome. The tension is palpable, the scares work, and yeah, this movie lives up to its reputation. The score is 4.5 out of 5. Hey everyone, what are your favorites? Let me know down in the comments. Like and subscribe and all that. If you don't like the video, tell me why, and then subscribe anyway. You'll be notified when I upload a new video. Watch that, and then tell me why that one sucks. I'll take any feedback I can get. As will be mentioned down in the description, I have a Patreon, and now I am finally actually uploading exclusive content there. Starting out, I'm just going back and reacting to some of my first tribute videos, seeing how well they hold up or don't, and just, you know, talking about like behind the scenes stuff and my thoughts and my thought process in the making of them, if I can even remember. So yeah, it's only a few dollars a month. I have 2 tiers. The first tier is just you have access to the exclusive content. The second tier is you can request commissions. Specifically, commissions for tribute videos, because that's all I'm going to do for now. Maybe I'll do other stuff in the future, but so far, if you're going to commission something, it has to be a tribute video. Pick a franchise or a character, or basically something with 3 movies or more. Or hell, even if it's just a common theme, like anti-heroes. I mean, okay, obviously come to me with a list of movies, not just the theme. And then also pick a song, and we can iron out the details as needed. That's all for now. Stay safe in these crazy times.